Just tell us, for the uninitiated, and that's me included, what is the midterm budget and why is it important?
Okay, well, the midterm budget basically is government's proposals for their expenditure over the next 3 years, over the medium term, 3 years. And what that does, it basically, they tell us what government priorities are, and then they tell us the allocations that are going to be made, given the revenue that they have, to those various priorities. So what we can expect the midterm budgets to tell us is what revenue we are currently, or the fiscus is currently earning so far, and also what kind of expenditure they expect to be making in each of the years 2013 to 2014, 2014 to 2015, 2015 to 2016. Yeah. Okay, so it just gives us a sense of what's happening. It will also, the government, through the medium-term budget policy statement, will be telling us what their expectations are for economic growth. They'll be telling us their expectations in terms of inflation, and they'll also be, looking at the broader global picture, which is very significant for South Africa because we don't live in isolation. Whatever happens externally impacts us internally, and that's always transmitted through our currency, the rand. And so, those are some of the issues that will be coming up.
What will be the things that will be uppermost in the mind of Pravin Gordhan when he makes his speech on Wednesday, you think?
Well, one of the key metrics that markets are looking at is the budget deficit. Now, the budget deficit simply means that government has revenue, and then it also has expenditure, the amount that it spends. The gap between those is the budget deficit, because usually the government is spending more than it actually receives in terms of revenue. So the higher that deficit rises, the more likely it would be that government would need to go out to the market to borrow money, which is not great. And these days, more often than not, government is going out and actually borrowing money from foreign countries. And so those bonds that they end up purchasing are usually denominated in foreign currency. And with our rand depreciating, it makes it more expensive for us to purchase those bonds and also to pay back the interest thereon.
For the individual, the man in the street, me, what can we expect? Are there things like tax increases on the cards or not?
Look, this is one of the questions that I've posed to analysts as to whether, Pravin Gordhan would have the audacity to do such a thing to us. But their feeling is that, economic growth prospects for South Africa are actually slowing down. At the beginning of the year, there was an expectation that we'd be growing at 2.7%, which is still a bit lower than the 3% that people were thinking before. But now, even Minister Pravin Gordhan is now talking about us growing not at below 2%, but he's accepting the fact that we may grow around 2%. So that's significantly lower. So for the man on the street, it means that we're getting higher unemployment. We're getting, it's tough for the consumer out there, so they're spending less. And because they're spending less, it's impacting, your retail sectors and other sectors and so on and so forth. And so, the economy is not growing as fast as it should. And therefore, if the consumer and the economy is slowing down, there's very little room for government to place taxes on us. If they place taxes on us, it means that we'll be spending even less. We'll just be spending on the basics. People may even go further into debt just to be able to survive. So the suggestion is that that would not be such a wise move at this stage.
Finally, I want to ask you the effect that this extended strike season has had on the economy. During this midterm budget speech, will we as a nation get an idea as to the effect that this extended strike season has had on the economy?
Look, I think we should be able to get some idea on that. And hopefully the Treasury has factored in the fact that we would want to know that information. But certainly I know journalists will be asking Minister Pravin Gordhan that question. There was a lack of productivity, and in some cases exports were down. So basically in the month of September, export sales were down 75%. So that has an impact on the fiscus, because if people are not spending money in that regard in terms of exports and stuff, they're not paying taxes. So that will have a bearing on the fiscus. But the extent to which, well, we'll only find out hopefully on Wednesday.
And I'm sure you will bring us a complete wrap of it on Wednesday, and on all our platforms you'll be telling us what the Minister is saying. But thank you, Nompu, for joining us
You're
this
very
morning.
welcome.
That was a very informative little update. Got to move on, move right past you, yeah?
Okay.
See you, my dear.